everybody. This is LaJohn Woods back again. I am here with Aubry Mintz, the creator of Nothing to Say. Before I get into that, myself, LaJohn Woods, I am an alumni of the 2017 Salute Your Shorts Film Festival and for the film of Safety Net. And I am honored myself to be in this position to even be able to ask questions for people who have created some outstanding works in this upcoming festival. And like I said, once again, I have the wonderful Mr. Aubry Mintz with me right now, who is going to share some insight on his work. Once again, Nothing to Say. First and foremost, sir, thank you so much for taking this time. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thank you for inviting me and including the film in the festival.
Fantastic. Yes. I really enjoyed it. Watched it twice. So much to talk about there. So I'll go ahead and get right into it. As I always say, I have to ask a very generic question first. What's the inspiration?
Well, this, gosh,
Hmm.
you know, I'll go out and just say that this film I wrote in 1996. So,
Wow.
what's that now, 26 years ago?
It happened.
Um, yeah, it was a school project when I was at Sheridan College, an animation school in Canada.
Okay.
And it had many iterations throughout the years. It went to it went into a studio film at Industrial Light and Magic, and then a personal independent film back in Canada, and then on hiatus for about 12 years, and then started up again about 4 years ago, where we were able to finally bring it to finish. So when you say, like, what's the inspiration, it had so many different eras, basically. So I'll try and be quick here, but it's a long
No.
answer.
Please take your time and expound as much as you want, please.
Thanks. So when I was a student, I was like 20, 22 years old, and I wrote the story about a turtle that wouldn't talk, and this zookeeper dictator that kind of forced him to be like the other animals.
Mm.
And at that time, I'm Jewish. I grew up in kind of like suburbs and outside of Toronto, and the Jewish experience, when you grow up, you're always taught about the Holocaust at a very young age, and so much to the point where it's like they show you graphic video of like bulldozing bodies, and it's who knows what therapists would say about like what's too early to see that stuff, but it definitely made an imprint on me. So I've always been strong in my in my opposition to oppression of any kind, and any racism of any kind, and so that kind of came out as a like a subtext in the story. And it kind of remained. And then when 9/11 happened, I was working on the film in Hamilton, Ontario, and that kind of shook me in a different way, understanding that there's complete destruction that can happen from an ideology against a group of people, but also how America reacted to it, kind of marginalizing another group of people. So there was always this kind of like separation and forcing people into their silos. And again, that fit with the film. In Act 2 of the film, you see the turtle being taken away from his family and all this destruction happening. It was actually a lot of the footage of people running away from the Twin Towers and the smoke following them that kind of made its way into the film as these turtles escape this kind of smoke monster. So then when it went on hiatus, and the Syrian crisis started happening in 2014, that was another reminder of people are continually being displaced and marginalized. And finally, the US-Mexican border, people being torn away from their families and held captive at our border here. Again, a final reminder that this stuff history repeats itself, and so it's more relevant than ever to finish that film. I warned you it was a long answer.
No, please. And I can't stress this enough. With you putting in the work and making awesome work and then taking the time to even do this, I don't care if the questions I ask take 10 minutes to answer, use all 10 minutes, please, by all means. Thank you for that. Yes, that was, and you really you blew my mind with that one there. I didn't hit that correlation, of course, when I saw it, but when you mentioned the towers falling and you know, the clouds and everything, that hit hard. So yeah, I get that. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Why a turtle for the subject animal in particular? And I apologize if you kind of touched on that already, but why?
No, I don't know. It's one of those things where it just kind of came out. I started drawing these sketches of turtles. It was always a turtle, actually. It never changed.
Oh.
But the analogy worked. You know, this character that can carry the weight of himself or his problems on himself, on his shoulders,
Nice, nice.
yet is able to retreat into it and hide and become kind of comatose and go into his trance. So that always worked because it was just, it felt like the right animal. And the fact that he's old and he's kind of, we don't know how long he's lived, but he's traveled all this time, and that he's slow. And you know, it fit that this character that doesn't talk, he has nothing to say, and yet he has a lot to say. He's very wise behind that. You know?
Awesome, fantastic. My daughter is into drawing comics and everything, and she's starting to get into the anime mode. So as I say anime, I guess I call myself knowing that. But it leads up to my question is, what types, because this is a very uneducated question, I don't know, and I'm glad I'm talking to you about this. What different types or forms of animation were used? Because it seemed as if you went into different, you know, looks, and I was really impressed with that.
Thank you. Yeah, it was three different kind of main components of like animation pipelines.
Okay, I'm very excited. I got to cut you off because I thought it was 3. I was like, yes, so I was right. But go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, and it was kind of on purpose because the first one is kind of this flat graphic, almost kind of Looney Tune or Disney-esque looking.
Right.
And that was all the zookeeper's point of view. You imagine his world, he thinks is like this wonderful place that he lets all the animals run free, and it's colorful, like almost too colorful, like very candy colored and a little bit, you know, cheesy, saccharine, and but it's flat, so it's like very one-dimensional.
Right.
And that is because that's his thinking, you know, it's like, you know, I let you run free, you make your animal sounds, everything should be fine.
Everything should be great. Right.
Right. It should be great. No worries here. No
right.
So, and then of course, when he gets angry, that facade starts to leave, and you see like the ink literally drip. And we, you know, our rationale there was as if like the animator's called cleanup line is actually starting to run, and the ink is starting to run because he's losing control of his facade and his, you know, world. Artwork starts to lose control, and then it goes into more the inky Ralph Steadman-esque type of animation that we were going for. When the turtle starts to talk, that's the turtle's point of view, and it goes into a full computer animated process where you are able to get more realism into it. You can spend more time on lighting and depth. And I don't know if you noticed, but the aspect ratio actually changed, so it actually got wider.
Right.
So, you know, CG is a good way to kind of like get as much depth as possible, and that was a turtle story, so it had to be the most impact and the most real and full. And then at the end, we get to the animal story. It's like their eyes now, because they're kind of like the audience, so they start seeing the facade. They start seeing like the problem, the rips in the fabric in the zoo, and like the paint peeling. And so we used we kind of emulated an experimental technique, like a paint on glass technique you'd see from artists like Carolyn Leaf, these great independent animators. But it was all done digitally, but we paid attention to each brush stroke so that it tried to make it look as much as a painting as possible. And so you go from this kind of flat world to this more world with realism and depth, to something in between the two.
That's fantastic how each, and again, I'm so glad I'm taking this time to talk to you and ask these questions, because I just saw it as, hey, that's pretty cool. They would decide to change the format and everything. That's awesome. But each change represents something. And I love what you said as far as flat and, hey, I'm giving you food. You should love it here. You're captive. Everything should be freaking fantastic. And that's his point of view. I love that. And how each aspect has its own definition. That is awesome stuff, man. See, now I gotta watch it again because I didn't see it that way. I just thought it was, Mike, these guys are really taking some serious time to change this color. No, that's great. That's really great.
Or it could have been the fact that it took 22 years and we just ran out of ways to work on it. You ran out of paint. So actually, it's funny because it took so long. I started it actually hand drawn, drawing on paper, shooting on film, and then as technology evolved through the years, I was able to adapt it, but it meant kind of giving up old scenes that I had already created.
I bet.
20 years later, trying to open up even a computer file, you couldn't open it. It was the same software, same company, so I had to call them and talk with them. They're great. It's Toon Boom Animation, and I had to say, hey, is there any way you can open up these files? They're 20 years old. But it was so old, even the company said, no, we have to kind of redo it.
Wow. So it's safe to say that, and this is not even a part of one of my original questions, but it's safe to say with you hearing this, because it kind of ties into another question I was going to ask as far as how long it took, and I think you touched on that already, but with this kind of time and making a statement like that as far as having files that are so old you can't even retrieve them, this was your baby. Am I safe to say something like that?
Yeah, man, it was, gosh, it's like having a 26-year-old right now. So imagine, you've worked on your creative projects before, and you probably slave and sweat over it as you're working on it. But this was something that was always in the back of my mind, and it couldn't get finished for one reason or another, whether it be funding or moving, family, life, all that. But it was like, you had this kid and you had to take care of it. And I draw every once in a while and think about it, and it'd come up, maybe I'd animate here and there. But I had a lot of painful moments because it wasn't getting finished. And it was this thing, I didn't think I'd ever finish it, to be honest. And when I got that call in 2014 from a place called Seneca College, they work on professional projects in the summer. They have this great summer institute where they take on projects. Yeah, and Mark Jones, the chair that runs the program, said, "Hey, there's an urban legend that you had an unfinished film in Canada with Danny Aiello doing the voice.
Yeah.
Can we help you finish it?" And it was like, the heavens opened up.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, this." Done, and lo and behold, there it was.
Fantastic. And you mentioned Danny, and I was actually my very next question: how the process go in regards to choosing your narrator?
Well, at the time, I actually had my father narrate it when I was in college, and he read books to us when we were kids, and I loved his voice, and I love his voice, and that's what I pictured. And so he read it, and my brother recorded it, and it was great to me, but I showed it to enough people that were like, "Are you going to use that voice?" He's not a trained actor. I mean, that's it, I realized I had to do something. And after I was at ILM, we redesigned it and everything to make it a professional film, from a student film to professional film. And I realized I had to step it up. If the voice was what was going to pull it down. So my brother, Aubry Mintz, who was producing then, went to an animation convention and happened to walk by Danny Aiello, who was there as well.
What?
And the crazy thing is, the zookeeper's name is Dan.
You're right.
And it always was. So, and you look at his body shape, it's kind of similar, right? And it was always like that, right? So it was like a light bulb just went off. We're like, fuck yeah, get this guy.
Damn.
And so my brother's a very bold producer, and he just went right up to him and was like, "Hey, you're Dan. This is Zookeeper Dan. You're the voice. Will you help us?" And he was such an amazing guy, and he read the script, And he said he practiced it and invited us up to Jersey to record, gave us time completely pro bono. And we were like 22, 23 years old, and he really helped us out. And he was such a magical person to work with, so sweet. And he taught me this great lesson. This was my first time ever directing, right? So you gotta imagine, I'm on the plane ride over, reading this book called Directing Actors. Like I didn't know what I was supposed to do here.
Right.
And like, why start? I went from my father, who's not an actor, to Danny Aiello, who's been in Moonstruck and do the right thing.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. And so I kept reading in the book saying, whatever you do, do not line read. Like, don't tell them how to do their job. Just give them the emotional beats, whatever it is, let them do their work. And so we recorded for about 3 hours, and there was one line where the turtle wasn't saying what I heard in my head, basically.
Okay.
And I did it. I did a line read, and I was like, can you just say it this way, where we belong, whatever.
Right.
And Danny, he's a big guy, right?
Yeah.
So, and he stops and he goes, "You want me to read it the way you just said it?" I was like, "Yeah." So everyone's quiet. There's a whole room of people. Everyone's quiet. Right. And he goes, "As an actor, I don't usually do that." And there was this long pause.
Yeah.
Goes, but for this, we have to. Come on, everybody, let's go. And,
man.
It was such a good lesson, like, what, stay in your lane, buddy.
That is
and he gave me a big hug, and it was amazing.
Oh man, thanks for sharing that. That's incredible. And I gotta ask, God bless him and God bless his soul, did he get a chance to see this before his passing?
Well, this is the beautiful end of the story, John. The first festival we were accepted into was Hoboken Film Festival, which is exactly where we recorded Aiello. So by some amazing blessing, not only did he see it, but he shows up to the premiere with a few friends, and we all sit there in the audience together, just watching it for the first time together. And it was amazing. He was reacting to it, and he was whispering things to me. He's like, "Hey, do you see the Twin Towers in the background?" Like, he was seeing things that I wasn't seeing, and I had a smile on my face like you'll never believe. And like the sound wasn't loud enough, and him and his fellas were going, turn it up.
You can't say no.
It was brilliant.
That's incredible, man. That's just more proof that something like this was destined to take place, even though it took a long time, but it was destined to take place. That's awesome. Beautiful. Thank you. My next question, you answered that question already for me as far as the time. What were the other animals trying to convey when their backs were turned to the zookeeper?
Yeah, I think they were basically saying, their eyes are open, and they're now looking at the turtle as opposed to looking at the zookeeper. And in some ways they're listening as opposed to judging him. In other ways they're protecting him. They're closing him off from the zookeeper, and not wanting him to do any harm to the turtle, because the zookeeper was threatening him, So it was a little bit of both. It was like, we need to hear you more, we need to listen. Right. It's like everything that's happening now with the protests and Black Lives Matter. I think our stance as non-people of color is to listen and really just pay attention. And I think that's where a lot of us go wrong. Sometimes we feel the need to speak and offer opinion when sometimes you don't have to. You just have to pay attention.
Listen, that makes perfect sense. Thank you. And you actually probably touched on my very next question. If there was a message for the audience to receive from this project, what would it be? Message or messages, or maybe none at all. But if there is one, what would it be?
I think it was always, you know, a posture of listening and um, hearing those silent people or the voiceless, or uh, rather than react, try and empathize
Right.
and think about what people are going through in their lives. I formed a production company called EIE Productions, which is Educating to Instill Empathy.
Mm.
And you know, I'm an educator myself for the last 20 years, and you know, so much of it is finding, you know, it's communicating, and it's you know, teaching a skill or lessons, but it's also finding a way to hear and to listen and to have that conversation.
Right.
So yeah, if there's anything, it's learning how to listen, really.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Um, again, something you probably touched on, but what are your ultimate intentions for this film, as far as just overall, where you wanted to go, what you wanted to do? Has it hit your ultimate intention?
Well, yeah, I mean, you talk to the 23-year-old Aubrey, it was to you know, become a feature film director, and you know, maybe turn it into a TV series. And you know, sure, that would be great too, but eventually the goal became get it finished, you know, after so many years. So it's just been such a wonderful ride seeing it finished. It's played in now 33 festivals and won a couple awards. So it's getting some recognition, which I hoped for. And you know, having conversations like this, I love this because it's hearing other people's reactions to it. And I'd love to hear how people resonate with it. And you know, like Danny Aiello said, he sort of picked up things. He said when he watched the film, it gave him the same feelings as when he lost his friends in the Twin Towers.
Wow.
And he said that before knowing that it had anything based on 9/11. So, you know, to me, like that's the dream of producing art and getting it out there and having people react to it without having any disclaimers,
Right.
because then you know it's resonating with some people in the way that you intended it to. So
Right.
that's you know, that's probably wonderful. If that's what I get from this, then that's wonderful, you know. And where it goes next, who knows.
I can't stress it enough. You really this work has purpose, especially when you have someone of his caliber who can see something like that without even being told that that was his purpose and everything. Man, that is some amazing stuff. That's fantastic. What's next for you? Any upcoming projects or anything? Anything you got going on coming up?
Well, currently I'm the director of the School of Art at Cal State Long Beach. Our next goal is to figure out how to keep educating in this virtual world now. You know, it's with the pandemic on us, it's just such a new way of being. But we've got such an amazing team of people and such great students, and you know, it's not just teaching, but it's teaching art. You know, there's like subjects like printmaking and ceramics. Like, how do you do that like this, right? You know, when they're using equipment. So that's my, you know, first challenge. But creatively, I've been working on a couple things. One is a children's book about the troll that is under the bridge in the Billy Goat's Gruff story. And no one ever thought about his side of the story. What's he doing? Why is he hiding? You know?
Exactly. That's nice.
And I've been writing. I've been doing a series of interviews that I've been publishing, and another short film about discovering your inner child and discovering what it is that is inside us that kind of makes us either create or react in good and bad ways, and being able to go back and talk to that child. So that's more of a personal project that I've been kind of toying with.
Fantastic. If trust me, if it's anything like the one we're talking about here, I'm certain myself and many others will be looking forward to it. Finally, how can people follow you and your work?
You can go to my Vimeo, Aubry Mintz, and you can go to the Nothing to Say Facebook page at Nothing to Say, and those are a good place to start.
There we go. That's good. That's good enough for us. Well, hey, listen, I gotta say, sir, you are an inspiration. That is amazing stuff. Amazing human being, amazing work, and I just ask that you just continue going, keep fighting, and keep fighting for what's good and what's right. And you're making some wonderful things happen out here. And you have forced me to log back into the site and watch it again, because you pointed out some things that I didn't catch at first, and now when I see it, it's just going to be a mind explosion all over again. So I'm truly grateful to have seen it, grateful to have had an opportunity to talk to you, and for you to take the time and to do this. This is fantastic stuff. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, LeJohn. I really appreciate you.
Awesome. So hey, we're going to go ahead and sign off, folks. Once again, LeJohn Woods here with Mr. Aubry Mintz. Nothing to say. That's awesome stuff, man. So once again, I hope everybody enjoyed it. I don't have to hope, because I know you enjoyed it. And if you didn't enjoy it, trust me, watch it again. You will enjoy it. Aubry Mintz, thank you so much.